Hello everyone, I am back and I'm going to show you what we've done today. All right, we have the door to where it was pretty good looking, but there were fish eyes all over it. I've used everything I can think of to clean it up, and no matter what, the fish eyes come back. The latest thing was, there's a Rust-Oleum tar, wax and tar remover. I don't know where the bottle is. I thought it was here. I thought that would fix it. It didn't. So I've got to figure out what to use to keep this from happening, because it's happening with all the parts. All right, let's see what else we have here. So we did that one. And then this is another one. We put a coat of, these were black before, just the plain carbon fiber. And we decided to try the red tint on it just to see what it looks like. And again, it came out really good, but it has a few of the fish eyes. There's one right there. There's a couple here. All these black dots that you see are where the epoxy will not stick to the surface. And again, used all the stuff that I know of to use to try to keep that from happening. There's quite a few over here. Oh, and there's one of the biggest ones on this door. So I don't know, we're going to give it a try again, see what can happen. All right, then we went ahead and put another coat on top of the spoiler that is done in forged carbon fiber. It pooled a little bit there. I don't mind. We're gonna try sanding that to see if we can lighten it up. We purposely set this flat because we're trying to level the surface here, and the color pooled a little bit. So it goes all the way from a very thin to a little bit thicker through here. And then again, a little thinner through there. So we're gonna try sanding that and see. I think it'll lighten it up. Not positive, but I think it will. We will find out. We did try to fix it a couple of times, and obviously it eventually gets to a point where you can't do anything with it. And so we just left it from there. Again, a couple of fish eyes, not as bad as the others, but still have some. And on that first door, we tried touching them up. We won't know until we sand it, color sand it, to see if that actually fixes it or if it looks like a door with freckles all over it. I'm trying to find that wax and tar remover bottle, but I had it earlier. Anyway, so the plan was to go sand that one door with the freckles on it. But when we saw that, we said, hey, before we sand it, why don't we try? We had leftover from that. So why don't we try filling in the spots? So that's what we did, was we tried every one of those. So we will know tomorrow or the next day, probably the next day. We will sand this, color sand it, and see how these look. Whether they look better as the black dots, which we would just put clear over, or if we were able to get it to look okay with the tint again. All right, so this is like trying to fix a candy paint job. Anybody that's ever tried to repair a candy paint job knows how difficult that is to get the tint to work. All right, I was still hoping I would just stumble across that wax and tar remover, but I honestly don't see it anywhere. All right. Oh well, it's here. I tried it. It didn't solve our problem. All right, but the big thing to show is a surprise, because it's not to be expected. And it was something I put off because I knew it would be a lot of work. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but we put the split window hatch onto the car. There's the original C6 hatch, and then there is the split window. Now the hatch is oversized like a lot of fiberglass parts, and you've got to trim it to size, so we've still got to do that. So this is as close as it'll fit without trimming. but it's close. It won't take a whole lot of trimming, but it will take trimming. So let me go ahead and back up. There's water here, so I'm trying to avoid the water puddles. So this is what it looks like. Now, one of the things is there was no such thing as a C2 Grand Sport with a split window. But I went the Grand Sport, and a lot of people think Corvette split window. So I thought I would combine both of them. And again, this is a concept car. This is something that never actually existed. So I'm not trying to copy any original car. Now the windows, I do not know if these actual C2 back windows fit or if this is some custom size. The only way I really know to try it is to order a set of C2 Corvette split window windows and see. I kind of hate to do that. I haven't priced them, but I don't know, part of my mind says they're going to be pricey. All right. I have not worked on the fender flares. It was a choice between doing the back hatch and doing the fender flares. It's supposed to rain for like the next 4 days. So I said, all right, what do we need to do outside before it rains? And he said, oh, well, let's do the back hatch because the fender flares don't take up a lot of room. And it did take up a lot of room, obviously, trying to get that back hatch off and this hatch on. Getting that back hatch off sucked. It's another one of those, somebody should shoot the GM engineer that designed all that. There's 4 nuts that look like, oh, you just take off these nuts. There's studs sticking up. You go, oh, I just lift it up and get it off the studs. Well, there's not enough room between the hinge and the halo across the back to get that to work. So come to find out, there's a hinge plate that goes in there that has those 2 studs and 2 bolts that hold the hinge plate to the halo. Why they did that, I have no earthly idea. But anyway, doesn't matter. Learned, took apart everything else, only to find out there were 4 bolts that if we would have known about, we could have done that. And we ended up finding it by Googling it, of course. But even that, there weren't a whole lot of hits on how to do that. And some people said, leave it to somebody else. But you know us, we can't do that. We have to do everything ourselves. All right, so that's really all I've got. We've got to put the car in the shop because it is supposed to rain tonight. And obviously the front windows are down. There is no back window anymore. And I don't want to put the hatch back on just to keep the water out. All right, so once again, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate. Give me a thumbs up, share it, all of that stuff. And if you don't like what we're doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.